This was originally going to be a 6-month review video of my NCM Moscow electric mountain bike, but I guess life just got in the way and now I'm doing a how to revive your neglected e-bike video 2 years later. To be honest, I don't know if this thing is going to run again. The bike's been stored outside under a covered patio for almost 2 years, so it didn't get hit by too much rain, but it spent 2 summers out in the Las Vegas heat where temps got up over 120 degrees this year. The bike cover lasted a little over a year and started to rip in areas. Now it's so dry and brittle that it rips just by touching it. Hopefully it worked good enough to salvage some expensive parts of the bike. I suppose I'm going to have to start out by cleaning the bike really good and inspect every area as I clean it. First instinct would be to get some soap and hose the bike down real quick, but I spent the last 2 years making sure to not get any water in the electronic components of the bike. It wouldn't be smart to start spraying it with water now. I picked up a couple products by Finish Line on Amazon that are made specifically for e-bikes. One is a chain lube that I'm using on the chain and all the other moving parts on the bike, and it also does a great job cleaning surface rust off any nuts and bolts. The other product is a foaming cleaner that does a beautiful job cleaning off years worth of dust and dirt, and it's also safe to use on battery contacts and electronic components. Other than these 2 products, I have a battery powered blower to get off the surface dust before cleaning. I have some lint-free towels, some little detail brushes, paper towels, and a portable air pump. Starting with the handlebars, I was concerned about the LED control unit. It was pretty dusty, but it didn't look like the heat took a toll on it. I did make sure this area of the bike was completely covered at all times. The control unit and everything else in the handlebar area cleaned up nicely. I put some oil on the brake cables where they went into the handles and some on the shifters. Moving down to the forks in the front tire area, there's not a lot of cables or moving parts. I'm just going to clean everything really good, including the front tire, inspecting it for any dry rotting on the sidewalls. I'll put some oil on the suspension part of the forks and a little on the front hub, being extra careful not to get any on the disc brakes. It looks like everything cleaned up really good and is in great working order, other than this flat tire, of course. The back hub of the rim, along with the sprockets, derailleur, brakes, and chain were all exposed at times when the bike cover moved up from the wind. This area probably looks the worst and is pretty concerning considering the motor is in the back hub and there's cables running from the control box to it. After dusting everything off in this area and carefully cleaning it, I inspected all the connections, cables, and every little part of the rear derailleur. It looks like the only thing that had some rust on it was the chain a little and some small bolts connecting the control box to the underside of the frame. I oiled every moving part back there along with the rusty bolts and wiped off any excess. After cleaning and oiling everything, I gave the back wheel a spin with the pedals, and surprisingly, everything sounded and moved great. This could have easily been what ended this bike's life.
Okay, this is the part that kind of scares me because if I got any water in here and any of the connections got rusty, it's probably not going to work. My battery's not going to power up, so I'll clean this really careful. Clean the inside here. Doesn't look like it got too bad, just a lot of dust. Connections look good, they're not rusty. Got some alcohol here, and a Q-tip to clean these connections. And down in here. All right, I got it all cleaned up and it actually looks pretty good. Next, I'm gonna see if these tires hold any air. It doesn't look like they're cracked on the sides or anything, so I'll keep my fingers crossed and see what happens.
Like I said before, it didn't look like there was any damage to the sidewalls of the tires, and I was pleasantly surprised when they aired up without any leaks. I'll fill them up to the suggested pressure and keep checking to see if they lose any air. Now let's grab the battery and see if this thing powers up.
I did always store my battery inside and kept it charged, so hopefully that helps a little bit. Oh, and I also managed to not lose my key, so that's a necessity. All right, moment of truth here. Let's see if it fires up. No way. Full battery. That is unbelievable. All right, all we have to do now is take it for a test ride and see if everything works. Well, it seemed to power up just fine, and I made sure I tightened and oiled any moving components. Next, we just need to take it out and see how it functions mechanically. We're back at the place I tested this bike over 2 years ago, and even though there's a good mix in terrain, I'm not going to push it too hard. I'm just going to make sure everything's in good working condition, especially the electronic components, starting with the pedal assist. Let's go.
This bike has 6 pedal assist speeds to help you get up pretty much any incline. I don't think I've ever needed to use more than the first 2 assist settings. After the third one, you're really just making the pedaling motion as the bike runs itself. I can definitely see how the assist settings could benefit someone just getting into biking and gradually working on their endurance, or going through physical therapy for something like a leg or hip injury. All the e-bikes have a little throttle lever so you can skip the pedaling altogether and really cruise. On a flat surface, I think I topped out at about 22 miles per hour. I'm not going to push it that hard today, especially since I don't have a helmet and the bike hasn't been ridden for a long time. Using the full throttle mode is great if you got hurt while out riding or if you're carting around a heavy backpack like I usually am. All the electronic functions and features are working great, so that's a huge relief. Now I'm just going to run through the gears and make sure those are working good and continue this test ride. Just a quick recap, my NCM e-bike has been sitting outside under an open patio cover neglected for 2 years with nothing but a cheap bike cover protecting it. Now this is in the desert climate, so I'm not saying anyone dealing with more rain, snow, and freezing temperatures is going to have the same luck that I had. I guess if there's any lesson to be learned here, I'd say, look, we spent a lot of money on these bikes. Let's keep them stored someplace safe and out of the elements. Take it for a quick spin as often as possible, remove the battery when storing or traveling with the bike, and if you do have to store the bike outside for a while, invest in a good bike cover that's going to protect all those electronic components. As far as my review of the NCM Moscow electronic mountain bike, check out my original video here. It's still in production and NCM has a bunch of other bikes to fit your style.